you find him interesting, you can follow him on YouTube, and you'll find probably about a good year's worth of continuous video watching on every subject that you can possibly think of. He's an educator as well, so the content is very well organized, very well communicated, and I think you will enjoy his presentation. And thank you, Pablo, for driving from Fullerton. It's a crazy rainy day, so all yours, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Pablo Diaz. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I'm very humbled to be here. I haven't done anything like this before. As an educator, I have spoken on education, especially education technology. I'm a director of technology in the Innovation and Instructional Support Department in the Fullerton School District, but my passion definitely also lies in photography. I've had a YouTube channel for approximately 10 years now. It's a small channel. It primarily started as a vlog. So if you're familiar with a vlog, basically I'm waking up and saying, here's what I'm going to eat today. I'm going to Disneyland today. And nobody was watching. And so that being said, I niched down into something I wanted to learn more about and get better at, and that was the world of photography. I've looked at the South County Photo Club's, is it the Instagram? There's a lot of talented photographers, whether they be in the room or just out there in your club. So it's wonderful to be amongst a lot of good people. And photographers, for the most part, are pretty good people, I think. And when we talk to one another out there in the field, I think it's a good time sharing stories. So a little bit more about me. I was born in South America, Chile to be specific. I arrived here in the United States. We moved when I was about 4 years old. And I would say, I think I titled this Life, what was it? Life, Learning, and one other thing, Light, which is very important, right, in photography. But I probably could have called it Late to the Game. Because essentially, a lot of the things that I've done over the course of my life, including photography, I've been late to the game. But there is that old saying, better late than never, right? So that being said, as we kind of have a discussion about some of the places that I've been, and I primarily have shot only in the United States. I have been abroad, but I wasn't much into photography at that time in my life. So we've taken our family across the country about 5 times in the RV that we did own. We've since sold that. And so that being said, I've been able to see a lot of places instead of flying there. I've been in kind of boots on the ground and been able to see a lot of things that you wouldn't see if you're flying to a destination. So this is the first shot I have here is about from the Congaree National Park in South Carolina. It's near Columbia, if you're familiar with Columbia, South Carolina. It's in that general area. This one right here is in San Clemente. I think Carlos was actually on this this shoot with me in the real early morning. And I do like to shoot in the morning if I can, because most people don't want to get up in the morning and don't want to get out there. And I get it. I get it. It's hard to get yourself up, especially if I'm going out on a weekend after a hard weeks of work and you want to just go shoot. And that's the last thing I want to do per se, but I drag myself out there because one, it's peaceful. It's a lot quieter than, and I love sunrises. I do love sunsets, but I love sunrises because there are less people out there. And so less competition. And so you can set up your compositions in such a manner. And then this is also in South Carolina off the Catawba River in South Carolina. So the human side of photography, honestly, also being in education, AI is at the forefront of a lot of the things we're doing with teachers and students, and trying to maneuver through that world of just a new technology. It's kind of like new cameras. We have that new technology for our students. And I always focus on the human side of technology when we're talking about students and teachers. And I do the same thing here because ultimately, I think you'll always be able to have a camera in your hands and be able to shoot from the heart and shoot what you like. I also love another passion of mine is our trading cards, sports trading cards, if you will, especially vintage trading cards. Anybody card collectors in here? No one. Okay, we got one. Okay, maybe Pokemon, what have you. But it goes well with also, I think vintage cards pair well with my love of side love. I'm mainly a digital photographer, but I do dabble in some film. I have a medium format camera that I use, and also a 35 millimeter. And so that being said, that I think there'll always be room and a voice and a place for us photographers to shoot, but we have to be intentional and make sure that we remember that it's not about the technology, it's not about the gear, even though you have to have the gear to do it, right? You can go shoot. I mean, we all have phones in our pockets, and a lot of times I've even mentioned to myself, I don't want to shoot that because it's not quite my good camera. But nonetheless, it's a moment in time. So I've gotten a lot less picky, and you'll kind of see some of these images here and there, where I've gotten less picky about what I want to or how I want to shoot it, meaning with the camera that I have in my pocket or my hand. Just shoot it because that's a moment in time that you're not probably going to get back. Maybe you won't return to that scene. And if it's a composition, a story that you want, shoot it anyways. Just use your phone, use what you have. So, and I will say this up front, I am not, I had to look these birds up. I'm not out, this is one thing that I'm trying to learn and be human, that I'm not an expert in any one field, although I do love landscape, and that's oddly, I don't have a lot of landscapes in this slide deck. But I wanted to put myself out there and say that I do love shooting wildlife and especially bird photography because there's millions of birds around. I won't say it's an easy subject to shoot, but they are plentiful. And so this is, and if anybody is a bird expert and I am wrong, please tell me afterwards, and I'm glad to change that. So if you notice, oh, Pablo, that's not the tufted titmouse from South Carolina, that is X, please let me know. I'd appreciate it. So just go through a little journey. I do own a home in South Carolina, and I call him, our street's called Hickory Ridge Road, and this is my Hickory Hawk. He, for whatever reason, loves to come to the backyard and sit on that perch and pose for me, and I love it. I love the Hickory Hawk, but it is the red-shouldered hawk, and easy subject, almost looking at me like, what are you doing? Why are you taking this image of me? But it's a beautiful bird. I think another bird a duck that's plentiful that you might pass up because you see those all the time. But I try to take images sometimes of, I love close-ups. I crop in a lot because I'm like, I'm just not satisfied with that shot. I want to be closer. Now, also, I'll say that a lot of the shots that I shoot are primarily on two lenses. I shoot on the Canon system, the R system, and I've had the R, the first R from 2018 to now, and that's been my main shooter. So I haven't changed a lot, even though I do have the R6. I mainly use that to video my YouTube videos. But I use the 24 to 105, which was the first lens that I got with the Canon R, the EOS R. But then when I bought the 800 millimeter, it changed my life. It changed my life. I'm able to get shot. Now, it's not perfect. I got to shoot 1,000,000 shots to get one good one. But, and maybe that's the case for all of us, I don't know. But nonetheless, yes, I could have shot it when the duck was just kind of floating across the water. But I waited because I saw it diving down, coming back up, and I wanted that water coming off somewhere. I don't know where it's going to come off, but I think it worked. And I'm kind of spraying and praying here. And so you hear that shutter moving, but this one was one of the better ones that I liked, and I just loved the water coming off the duck, which makes it a little bit more special. So just little things that you can do to try when you're out there to make them your own. The eastern bluebird, again, this is out there in South Carolina, probably off the Catawba River. I shot a lot of these birds right off the Catawba, just walking the walkways on that river. This is the tea swallow. So interestingly enough about Yellowstone, you would have think you probably had a great time in Yellowstone. So I went there this summer. We camped a little bit, but we only spent one full day in Yellowstone, which is definitely not enough time in Yellowstone. I see some heads shaking. I must go back. So there's a balance, right? When you're on vacation and you're trying to shoot photography, I can't just say, goodbye, wife, I'm going to shoot photography. If I know what's good for me, right? So, nonetheless, so this was just happened to be a bird that was out there, but you only see maybe one or two other things. I didn't really see a lot of wildlife when I was there traveling through that day. Maybe that's the case. I don't know, but I only had probably 16 hours. We got there early in the morning and left in the evening. So that being said, I did grow up in Huntington Beach, so I do love the Bolsa Chica Ecological Reserve. Great place, obviously, for birds. So I've been practicing there. I've been back there quite a few times. And so this type of heron is there in spades and always there. It's a great subject. And I actually shot this a video for my YouTube channel, just being in one spot. I love to move. I get antsy and I just want to go shoot other things, but I made it an emphasis on just staying in one spot. So there was this fence, maybe 5 to 8 feet long, and I just stayed in that little fence area, just using my 800 millimeter and using my 24 to 105 to see what I can. I stayed there for 2 or 3 hours. It was probably one of the hardest things that I've done. But nonetheless, I was able to get shots that I might not have been able to get or find the images that I wanted by moving around. I'd probably just be chasing the whole time. But this is the only time I've done that. So, I probably need to do that again and see what comes of that. I loved these two birds side by side, the female and male house finch. Um, I just love the light that's, the rim light on the backside of these birds. It really stuck out to me. The back is blown out, which is okay. It gives emphasis to the birds. And sometimes I feel like I'm going to talk about projects later at the end. But this is a project that I thought that I want to do. I want to try and I want to experiment with really high key or almost ethereal or blown out shots. I don't know if you've ever tried, like, you get some images, you go, oh, I didn't mean to do that, or yeah, I was just in the wrong settings. But something speaks to me in some of those images just creatively that I just want to try. And so, who knows? There is again. The only reason I put this one up here too, I wanted to kind of pay some respect to the area of the burn areas, and this is in Descanso Gardens. So if you've ever been up that way, it's in the burn area up there near Altadena and such. And I found that they didn't have any issues other than a lot of just wind damage. So that was good news that the Descanso Gardens was saved, but there was a lot of trauma. It just reminds me, it's a delicate world that we do live in. And so, again, this is cropped in, although I am on 800 millimeters. Sometimes I do have to back up to get the shot, right? And my shots on the 800 millimeter, if you know anything about this particular lens, the RF lens, it's a pretty inexpensive lens for that size of lens. It's about $7.99 or $8.99 for the lens if you own it or have it. But for me, that's a good into this world of trying to shoot wildlife and things of that nature. I don't have right now $10,000 to $16,000 laying around to buy the good stuff. So, but this is a very good lens. This is a very good lens, and I take it everywhere. I take it everywhere. I get on flights with it, and I just make it work. I take this thing because I know I'm going to use it. The yellow-rumped warbler. That's what Google said. I don't know. Sounds good though, right? Again, is it? Yes. Thank you. Have the other ones been all right? Yeah. You just chime in. Let me know. I won't be offended. But I do love shooting birds, and I didn't before. I didn't before, but maybe it's because I'm getting older. I don't know, but I do find it's peaceful. I'm just I'm really calm when I'm shooting these birds, even though they tend to move around when I don't need them to. But the northern cardinal here, they are very prevalent in South Carolina, especially found them by the dozens. So beautiful bird. The snow egret. This one I was waiting for it to get in flight for so long, and and so you talk about cameras, and I shoot on the R, and I don't know why I do this to myself, but the R6 has the animal eye tracking. So I do switch over sometimes to get that, pair it up with the 800 millimeter, just so I can have a chance to get one of these in focus, right? But nonetheless, so I felt good about this shot. I love the extension. I love when the wings are out. I mean, I have multiple shots of all these birds in different angles, but I love when they're just kind of majestic and long, and it's a beautiful bird. So what I'm going to show you next is a bunch of really light trails. And how many people have shot light trails? It's long exposure, essentially. It's one of my favorite things to do. I'll probably keep saying that because I love every aspect of everything I shoot. But this is definitely one of the easiest things. In fact, I love that it's raining, and I love that there's lights out there tonight. And I was like, should I just pull over? Because I just wanted to shoot a light trail. But what's cool about light trails is that you don't see them on the regular, on a regular basis, right? Unless it's in a photograph. It's not in real life, right? It's just it's over time. And so it goes unnoticed. These things are unnoticed in the world unless you see an image of it. So there'll be different variations of light trails. Even star trails do the same thing, right? And so this is out on the corner of Brea Boulevard and in downtown Brea. And that Ruby's Diner is no longer there in downtown Brea. Yeah, it's been a couple things. I'm not sure what's getting put in there now, but I'm glad I captured it. It's a moment in time. It's not a perfect image. It's blown out over here on the left. I would have loved how's the flag going to be still unless I can't shoot light trails and shoot something at 1/125th or whatever it might be fast enough to capture that. I could do some blending, but nonetheless, it reminds me of the night. Again, I have an affinity also for rain and wet surfaces. It just makes everything pop, and so you'll see some of those here in the night. And sometimes the lights just make the streets look wet anyways. So here's another one from that night. I do love myself a good sun star as well. But I like front headlight stars too. So that's a favorite thing of mine to have in some of my shots. This is in Washington, D.C. Again, a nice rainy night. We were there on the 4th of July weekend, and you'll see some images of the Washington Monument with the fireworks. Again, some light trails. It's just a beautiful night. But I got out there in the rain, and again, just a beautiful spot there. You can barely see that kind of light trail. The cars weren't plentiful on that night in this area that I was in. This is in San Diego, and what I was really waiting for, and I shot a similar shot in Seattle with Space Needle behind it, and because you have the railroad track thingies, right, moving up and down, and they have lights on them, so you'll get that kind of blinking light all the way through, and if you do it long enough, you'll get it all the way through, which I think is the next slide. So I didn't quite get it all the way through, but it makes for, I mean, this one's okay, but it's just things to look out for that somebody may not shoot that I would love to shoot and have for my portfolio. This is in downtown Fullerton. This is kind of coming off a long layover where I hadn't shot a little bit. There are times when, you get, I don't know if you ever get tired of shooting, but sometimes you need a break. Your creative, flow needs to change. So I was on a little bit of a break, but it rained, and it doesn't rain all that often here in Southern California, as we know. So I got out there. This is one of the first rains of the season, and I wanted to shoot some light trails. So that was the first shot there. There's a bus coming through. I love when a bus comes through because you get lights a little bit higher, something a little bit more different. This is also in Fullerton. This is back in Washington, D.C. This was right across from the hotel. I was trying to get it even where I had cars coming both ways, but it never happened. The timing, I mean, I could have been out there all night, but I had to go to sleep. But the best I could do is right there. This is in San Diego Canyon. So waited for a while to get some of these shots, and it was cool that that car was parked there for a while. So I was able to get the long exposure all the way, if it takes a while to get the lights from the top coming all the way through and a car coming through and getting all the way out the other end. So that was fun to get that shot. I think I could be mistaken, but I think this was the pink moon night, right? We were looking for the pink moon, which isn't really pink, even though you'll see an image where I kind of made it pink. But I just wanted to be the pink moon. Here's another one coming from the other direction, right? And I do love that, there were a lot of clouds, so the pink moon kind of moved in and out of the clouds earlier, but nonetheless, I think it adds some texture and some depth to the shot. Again, there's those lights. I love those starlights. This is actually on the 405 at sunrise. And at first I didn't like, I have removed, all of the stuff at the top in Photoshop in the past, but I've started to do less and less of that and just keep the image the way that I found it. Unless something really bothers me out in a corner or something, I remove it. But nonetheless, I don't think it bothers the shot all that much. And this is nice because there is a blend. You got to, you only have so much time before sunrise, and then our light trails disappear, right? So that was a fun morning shoot. This is back on 13th Street or perpendicular to 13th Street with the Capitol building in the back. Again, a little bit further down, we have this shot off 13th Street in Washington, D.C. So I have 3 consecutive shots. Again, I shot hundreds of these shots, and there were a lot of nice ones. My favorite is not the second one, but I do like this one. What I like about this third one is the people in it. That's what makes it. There's a lot of people just documenting, right? And you have this silhouette-ness of the Washington Monument. This one's down in Carlsbad. I was at a conference, and again, raining. And we got out there, and we wanted to shoot sunrise, but there wasn't going to be a sunrise on this day. And so we did the next best thing, and we did some light trails. And I love that this, does anybody know what type of car this is? Riviera? Okay. I'll take that because it does look, yeah, we talked to the gentleman. Did you say old? Oh, yeah. Maybe even an Oldsmobile. You never know. It's a nice car, nice looking car, and I was glad it was in the shot. So timing is everything. So is luck. I do like every now and again to shoot some ICM, intentional camera movement. If you've never tried it, you can do it anytime during the day or night. I've done it in Las Vegas where there's tons of light, and essentially you're just putting your camera on a subject and making really the backgrounds, the layering or the light's going to move. This isn't a perfect ICM, but I just love the colors in this. And this is in Huntington Beach and during the summer. And here's a little bit better example. Again, another ICM-ish type shot, more of a panning shot where you're focusing on a car and everything else is kind of soft or blurred out, but the car is more in focus, and you can kind of tell, and it kind of gives you, I don't know, you get some weird vibes sometimes if you look at it with, shaking your head a little bit, but nonetheless, I love doing this every now. I use the word love a lot. Maybe I should stop. I love everything. All right. I enjoy. I like it. And so, essentially, photography is about shoot what you like, and we talked about this before. I don't know that I'm trying to still find my photographic style. Again, you've seen that I like to shoot a lot of different things, and you're going to see some more images here shortly. But I tend to shoot what's available, and one of the things that is available are stars most of the time here in Southern California. Shooting in blue skies, and again, I'll talk a little bit about this at the end. Are projects and things of that nature to keep you going and interested in the things that you want to shoot in photography. But shooting stars for me, this is the Milky Way over in Malibu, El Matador Beach. I never thought I would be able to shoot a Milky Way over the ocean, which happened, I was totally blown away. I tried, actually, Carlos and I tried in San Clemente. We saw a little bit of the Milky Way, but all of the clouds came in pretty quick and covered it up. So that was one chance. But then when we were able to see it out there, I was blown away. I was blown away that I could do that in Los Angeles area, right, where we do have a lot of light pollution. Here's another shot facing that way, the opposite way. Again, I never would have thought that I could see the Milky Way out there, and I don't shoot the Milky Way enough. I'd love to shoot it. I've been out trying to get the shot, but I just am not always that lucky. Whether there's a moon out, you really got to time it. So I definitely need to get out more this spring and summer to shoot the Milky Way. Now here's the subject. I even put this in my Instagram post all the time. This is a subject that always wants to be photographed, right? It's ready and available. And I love shooting it, when it's full moon or otherwise. And I have hundreds upon hundreds of moon shots. It's a great way to practice too. But this 800 millimeter works really good on this subject. And I've just gotten a variety of different shots with the 800 millimeter, and I've tried different things. Again, some of it's cropping in, right? And you'll see one, I think, coming up here. Oh, before I get to that, my one attempt to get Saturn with my 800 millimeter. Not bad, right? I mean, I'll take it. It's probably the best I'm ever going to do. I don't have a tracker. I think you guys are doing, I know Carlos has a tracker. So I let him but I'm just with the steady hand and a tripod. It wasn't bad. I had a lot of fun that night. I was like jazzed to get that. But then moving in, just cropping in and seeing the texture that you might only see on a telescope. I really love what the moon offers. I mean, it's up there almost every night, and you have those opportunities to shoot the moon anytime. I believe we're moving in. This was in Irvine, so I think this was the pink moon, if you will, evening. But I do also enjoy the clouds moving in front of it. Again, a little bit different vibe on the moon. And there's my pink moon. No, it did not look pink on that night. Full disclosure. I love this. I love panos. I do love myself a pano, and I'll take every opportunity to shoot 3-panel, 5-panel, even more if I need it, and then crop in the end. But shooting panos is a favorite of mine, especially midday. I also am an all-day shooter if I can be. If I'm going out in the morning, I'll shoot. I know sunset and sunrise it's the good light, but we have all day, and so then that's where I try to find, bird photography or panos like this, where it's not the best light, but yet you can still work on your craft, right, and composition and things of that nature. This one I got in the water, looked backwards, because I was shooting some ICM, I think, on this day, intentional camera movement. But I turned around, I'm like, that's a fun scene. That's a fun scene. I love the reflections on this, some of the umbrellas and such. So two different shots um, in Palm Springs, and I never took the time. I mean, I'm always driving by them. I go to a conference out in Palm Springs every year, and so I drive past these. But for whatever reason, I know, shocker, never thought of shooting a pano. But when I did these, I really enjoyed these, especially with the backdrop of the mountains and the snow caps. They're fun. And then this was from a recent trip back, actually during the holidays. I went to go see the USC Trojans and in the Las Vegas Bowl. And on the way back, like I was itching to do some photography, but I'm with my brother-in-law, right? I'm like, couldn't have him pulling over every 5 minutes, which I wanted to do. Maybe we should have drove separately. I don't know. But nonetheless, I finally stopped. What is it? It's called Eddie's World. Has anybody been to Eddie's World? There we go. It's an ice cream place. I've never been. So he's like, let's go to Eddie's World. Okay, but before we go to Eddie's World, let's turn right. And it's I think the exit's where the Calico Ghost Town is, right? So it's right on that corner. I just faced the other way, and I said, let me get a pano. And it was kind of nice because it was an overcast day. So you get that soft light at least. This is in Oregon. This is really one of the only, probably on, I could count on a hand, that I've been on dedicated, like leaving the state or some dedicated film or photography trips. So I had 3 days in Oregon to just kind of rent a car and run around. And I had a plan. Didn't come to fruition 100%, but I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed my hikes. Oregon's beautiful. And this is in Cannon Beach. So if you've been to Cannon Beach, you know you have kind of this layout of rocks. But this is when I was leaving. And I had shot, again, hundreds and hundreds of shots already. And I was just kind of walking through. I turned around. I kind of saw this. I thought I was done. I told myself I was done. I shot a video and I signed off and said I was done. But I turned around and was able to put this pano together. I did. Oh, I'm going to use this little. You showed me. Right there were a couple people, and so when I pulled the shadows up, I was like, I didn't really like them right there because you couldn't really see them, and they were just so they were ghosted a little bit. So I did remove those, but there's other people in the back, and then we got little Moon in the corner there. So full disclosure there, but I do love this shot. And again, we try as best we can to tell stories with our images. Sometimes we just go out and shoot, and that's okay too. But as much as you can, it's a moment in time, and you just want to be able to remember the place you were at when you shot that image that you loved, because you intentionally pulled the shutter and shot the shutter on a specific subject that you wanted. So when we talk about painting with shadows and light, I think of black and white photography because that's all you got. Your lights, right, and your darks, and you work with those. And so this is over by the Wedge in Newport Beach, and again started out I think at 4 or 5 in the morning. I was there, shot all through kind of the stars and the lights and the people coming out from the jetty in the bay. But I was walking the rocks, and this fisherman was fishing at the end, and I saw the sailboat was going to come through there, and I was like, this is perfect. And the water's like just bashing up against the rocks. So again, I probably have 50 shots, but this was my favorite. This is William. I just met him. I was also shooting a YouTube video at a local park in Fullerton. And he asked me what I was doing. So I told him, I'm just shooting a YouTube video about photography. And he had a lot of, he's lived there for 60 years. He lived on a house just above the park there. And just the nicest man. And I love shooting these types of photos when I meet people. I always ask permission. And he granted it. He said, absolutely. But, he says, I just got to walk around every day to get rid of my belly. And so, nonetheless, I thought, hey, good advice. Good advice. But a really good guy. It was good to meet William. Okay, so one of the only other shots that I thought were worthy in Yellowstone, and of course the bison, plentiful there, but not when I was there. I found one. You're driving around if you've been there, and then you see cameras and people, so there must be something. And there was a single bison, so people were starving for for wildlife during that time. So, but I was glad to hang out and grab this again on the 800 millimeter. Don't want to be that close, right? This is when I was traveling through Oregon on some of my stops, and I saw these. I wish there was a third, but maybe it doesn't make a difference. Maybe there's a story behind that in itself. But I did shoot a long exposure. They stood still enough to be mostly in focus. But I really enjoyed the texture behind it, the mountains and kind of the low-hanging clouds that were there. So I thought it definitely, I have this in color as well, but I prefer the black and white for sure. Huntington Beach, former Ruby's. I think Ruby's was gone at this point in terms of the restaurant out at the end of the pier. Say it again. Well, I planned that one. No, it's actually just sat there. Like there's there are a million of them out there these days, and I think during COVID they were all stacked up out there, right? So it was a great time to shoot if you needed one. Also, just sometimes I'll admit I get out there, I'm like, I don't know what to shoot. I just want to, but I do want to shoot, and so I just pointed my camera down. This was the same spot where I was shooting the pier, and I just like the textures. Like sometimes it does come across better in real life, right? You're looking at this is beautiful, but there's movement, right? Now there's no movement there anymore, but there was, right? Everybody's been in water, and we know there's movement and there's light. So that's the beautiness just stuck out. So I was like, let me shoot that. But I do like more abstract sometimes, such as this, and seeing patterns in the water. And then this is in Corona del Mar, so just off, it's just a rock, right? And so I couldn't get a good shot of the rock or what made sense, so I just got in there and just kind of made, I guess, my own art. My name is Pablo, not Picasso, but this is my rendition of art. Again, birds like to pose for me, but I do think it makes the shot a little better to have obviously a subject, of course, but nonetheless, there's a kind of juxtaposition between the pier and the bird, and it was just sitting. Sunsets, a favorite. And I love shooting. I met a photographer shooting downtown LA from, Kenneth Hahn Park. So if you go to Kenneth Hahn Park, you can see downtown, and when we have snow caps, you can see those snow caps behind it. And but that being said, on that day, he reminded me of something. Why is everybody leaving? Because you can do it in the morning or you can do it at sunset. And he says everybody's missing the good light, like the blue light, right? Shoot through the blue light. That always stuck with me. And so now these are some of my favorites is getting those pink skies and the blue kind of different magenta type colors in the sky. And so, and again, that's talking just to another photographer giving me advice. And so definitely stuck with me. This is just out at my local park. It's kind of lifted up high. It's called Hillcrest Park in Fullerton. So it is not a mountain, but a hill kind of thing, and it's got a big grassy area, and you can get some really cool images from this spot. You can also see downtown LA from this location. You can see the Long Beach port from this location. So there's a lot, and I think you can kind of see, oh, let me use my fancy little, right there, you can kind of see, I don't know what mountains, the range over there by Long Beach, but if you look down the coast, you can kind of see those there. Again, I just love the cotton candy-ness of clouds sometimes. Beautiful when you see that. And it's fleeting, right? Because it only lasts. You could I've called my wife out, come, and then, well, it's gone, right? It's not as strong. So there's only a moment in time to capture that. This is from a little bit east of Hillcrest Park, and this is on the panoramic nature preserve in Fullerton. So this is set up a little higher. And here you see all of downtown Fullerton, well, when it's not smoggy. And you can can you see the shipyard back there? It would be way up here. But I don't know if you can make it out. But you can kind of see some of the shipyard, the arms and things that move all of the bins around. This happened on the day that I told you I was stood in one place for about 4 hours. So sunset, was coming, and I walked the opposite way, and I'm like, oh, I forgot, there's a sunset. It's about to happen. And there was a lot of shots to be had, but again, I'm trying to get out of this dark area, this trail, but nonetheless, it was setting behind Catalina there. And I only wish that that tanker was in front of it or somewhere. There were tankers out there, just not in the spot. So, but nonetheless, still, I enjoyed taking that. Same area at the time, again with my 800 millimeter. These folks were actually, I was watching them for a second. They were shooting selfies and things like that. So they were discussing something, but I think the position that they wanted to be in for their selfie, because they did quite a few. This is back in Carlsbad, same morning of that light trail image with the, what was that car again? The Riviera. It's going to be the name of that image, the Riviera. But nonetheless, a lot of beautiful rocks on this beach. Obviously, in Huntington Beach, or most of our area, we don't have those types of sand or rocks. So, yeah, I just got the camera down really low. And I tell even our students times when we have one-to-one iPads in the district, and they like to shoot photography, but most everything's from here. Like when you're starting, you forget. Even as adults, we probably forget that we can get down low. We can shoot. Forget to look up. Like look up at trees. There's also lots of different opportunity, but definitely when we talk to the students so I need to take that advice myself sometimes and remind myself. There's different perspectives. This is the cholla cactus in Joshua Tree. This was, again, I came here on a whim from the conference, just ran over there early in the morning to try to get sunset, but it was a cloudy day. I think there was a little storm brewing. I think this next shot kind of shows a little bit more of the background and what the skies looked at. But just a beautiful bush, if you will, especially when it's backlit. It's got an amazing, because it's a little bit translucent just through the needles. So when it's backlit, it's beautiful. This is just off the balcony in Palm Springs. Again, jonesing to shoot something before I go off to the conference. Sunrise came. I took the 800 millimeter. There were palm trees in the background. So I took advantage of taking this image. Again, sunrise, didn't need to go far. Just walk out of the balcony, but nonetheless, opportunistic. Oh yeah, during Thanksgiving break, we went to Kauai, my favorite island of choice. And again, I didn't shoot a lot of photography, but I did get up one morning to go out and shoot. And again, this is on the long lens, but I do enjoy how the light was just beaming off different parts of the rocky, rough ocean on that day. It stood out to me. Again, another palm tree. Like I told you, I didn't put a lot of just straight landscape. This is about as landscape as I put on this slide deck. Because I really did want to talk more about the things that I've been kind of on a journey on, trying to figure out who I am as a photographer. Photography, of course, but trying to figure out exactly what I enjoy most. Yeah, yeah, nice. And just beyond the frame, photography as a personal and collective narrative. To kind of finish, I talked a little bit about taking chances or going out there and shooting what maybe you're not comfortable shooting. I'm certainly not a great macro photographer. I do have a 100 millimeter RF lens on the Canon system, and I just, again, artistically, I see something and it seems simple enough to me, but obviously you're going to deal with, if you're at a low aperture or you're wide open, right? It's gonna affect the image. So if you're closing down your shutter, opening up your shutter, it's going to obviously increase light or decrease light. And so you're dealing with that. And then I've watched a lot of videos on this, and right, you need a light. So if you're a macro photographer and you know what you're doing, it's probably simpler and easier. But for me, like a lot of times I'm just running and gunning. I just have my camera. I want to shoot. I'm intentional about wanting to shoot macro, but I don't know. Sometimes I'm not 100% confident. Again, this one's just one of the flowers at my house. So again, practicing. I did like how it was not 100% clean. There was some like grittiness to it, right? Because that's real life. That's how it was. And then finally, to finish, this is thank you for having me out here, because I talk about projects, and I've wanted to start a project for probably over a year and a half now. I've talked about it. And these are just samples. These are just things that are going through my head. A couple of, or at least one of them, maybe two of them are iPhone shots, right? Talking about what I said earlier is shoot with what you have. And I want to, we have so many bluebird sky days, right? Blue sky days here. I mean, sometimes we just don't have a cloud in the sky, but I want to shoot on those days, and I want to do something interesting with that. So I have a working title, right? It's right side of the frame. That's what I want to call it, but it probably needs some work. Maybe you can give me some suggestions. But the idea is everything's coming out of the right side. I think it's self-explanatory there. But nonetheless, it's with only blue skies in the background. So I'd like to build a portfolio just on that as a project for like a side project. I'm not going to give up all the other things I love, right? But nonetheless, it's something I definitely want to pursue. Thank you, everybody.